Hey guys, welcome to the Z-Logs. Today we're going to talk about the technical aspects of the boat, such as the engines, the sugar scoops, the navigation, and things that I need to do on this boat, upgrades I need to make just for cruising. Obviously, you guys understand this is a bigger boat, so it's got a huge power, not a huge power consumption need, but it does use a lot of power. This boat uses about, we ran a test on it without running the generators for 24 hours, and we use about 350 amp hours of battery. This boat has 720 amp hours of battery, and you got to remember this is a 24 volt system, so that's like having 1440 amp hours of 12 hour battery or 12 volt batteries. So I've got to get some solar panels on here. I've measured it out, and I'll show you the next clip or two how I measured it out and ordered the solar panels. They're on their way. And we're going to put 1800 watts of solar on this boat, which should get us at peak sun. If the sun was perfect and it was shining on all the panels, it should get us to 70 or 80 amp hours of charge back into the batteries. Now we're not going to have peak sun, so you could probably figure about 50 amp hours back into the battery. So that should get me about 200 to 300 amp hours back into the battery during the peak sunshine day. Now there's several components on this boat, such as the oven and the dishwasher, or the oven and the washing machine that have to run off the generator anyway, and the water maker. So we're going to be running the generator sometimes just to cook with the oven, to wash clothes, and to make water. So at those times we'll also be putting juice back into the batteries. And the two engines have 50 amp 24 volt 50 amp extra alternators on them to charge the batteries as well. So anytime we're motoring, the batteries will get charged that away. My goal is to be, I'd like to be 100% off the batteries, or 100% on the batteries, and never have to turn on a generator. But in this case, with such a larger boat, a bigger boat, it does have some power needs. Our last boat, the monohull we had, it used about 200 amp hours of battery every 24 hours. So, and I had 720 watts of solar on that battery, and I had 720 amp hours of battery, and that was a 12 volt system. So this boat is kind of double that, just about. But it's I think I can get it to where it doesn't take too much. So come with me, and I'm going to show you the solar, the sugar scoops, the engine compartments, and what the do's and what I do like and what I don't like. You know, a boat is a floating compromise, so we're just going to have to deal with some of the things I didn't like, and those are supplanted with the things that I did like. So follow along, here we go. Alright guys, so the first thing I want to show you, the batteries. Right here as you walk into the main salon, the batteries are right underneath the step in the floorboard here. And I'll just show you what we got down here. What we have is we've got 12 Exide gel batteries, 120 amp hours apiece. They're connected in a parallel or serial. Parallel, I think, gets you 24 volts. So there's 6 24s, 6 24s, so there's basically 6 24 volt batteries right here, which gets us that 720 amp hours. And this is where the batteries are. One day I'm going to put lithium ion batteries in here, and I'll be able to get, with the measurements of this bay, I'll be able to get 2,000 amp hours of batteries in the same space that I've only got 720 amp hours of batteries. So that's a huge difference. And the weight will be about, it'll be half the weight for the lithium ion batteries. But that little upgrade is a $20,000 upgrade, and I just don't want to spend that kind of money right now on batteries. These batteries are pretty new, and we're just going to use them until we don't have anything else to do. So that's my battery compartment, and that's what I've got to deal with. So guys, we just talked about the batteries, where they're at, and what I have. So now we got to add solar to the boat, because we definitely need the solar. And so what I did is I got a hold of the manufacturer, WinCheS Solar, who's going to make the panels for me, and I got their dimensions of their solar panels, so 50 watt solar panels and the 100 watt solar panels, and I made dimensions out of cardboard. Now if you zoom in on this, this is kind of where I laid it out on the cockpit roof, the hardtop, of where I'm going to put the panels. And I took this cardboard, which is the same dimensions, and I laid it out and tried to find the best efficient way to put the solar panels up there. Here's my 50 watt panel, and that way I had templates to lay out the solar. So we'll walk up there and I'll show you what the deck looks like up there. All right, guys. So we just walked on. We're sitting on top of the salon right now, and right here's the hard top that goes over the cockpit. As you can see up here on the cockpit, I've got pencil marks where I laid out my plan to put the solar panels all across the top of the cockpit. So I can put 14 100-watt solar panels up here. No, 12 100-watt solar panels and 4 50-watt solar panels. And then down here on the top of the salon roof, I'm going to put 4 more 100-watt solar panels, which will get me a total of 1,800 watts of solar. I hope that all works out that way. The wiring issue is going to be the issue in how to make a clean wiring install. So I have clean wires going where you can't see a bunch of wires and it looks like a crappy install, or you're tripping over wires on the deck. I want it to be a super clean, super smooth install. I'm going to have to do it myself. So that's probably like Tim Allen and what was the show? Home Improvement. Tool Time. You know, it's going to be a train wreck. You guys just need to stay tuned for the train wreck. So this boat has a passerelle on it. He had it hard mounted on here instead of being in the swivel hole, so it's always there. You take 2 bolts off and you can put it in the storage compartment for the passerelle. But here in the Med, they do a lot of Med mooring, backing up to conserve space, and so you got to have a passerelle to get off your boat because you don't want to park your boat right next to the dock. We're climbing on the side of the boat, and that's how we get off and on right here because we're right next to the quay. Now we're going down into the starboard side sugar scooper shed, and I'll show you guys the smaller generator and the area in the room down here in the sugar scooper. All right, guys, we're down in the starboard side sugar scoop, and this has got a lot of room. As you can see, Renee's in here with me with the camera. I'm in here. There's lots of standing room up in here. This is the 8 kilowatt Fisher Panda generator. And this one runs basically battery chargers and most of the electrical on the boat. It will not run the air conditioners, and it will not run the oven, or the water maker. But everything else it runs. So the neat thing about having the smaller size genset in here is that it uses about 1/3 of a gallon an hour of fuel, whereas the other one uses about a gallon. I don't know, probably a 1/2 gallon an hour of fuel. The 13 kW Onan. And this one's super quiet. It is a Fisher Panda, which is what I had on the last boat. The last boat I had a 10 kW, and this time I've got the 8 kW. And so I've all my parts and all my spares will all work on this generator. The neat thing about this room and the way these sugar scoops are laid out is that I have great access to do service. I don't know if you remember me crawling back to the generator on my last boat, but it was in a small area and I had to reach inside and hold my left leg up and put my right hand behind my back and use my tongue to undo a nut. That sounded bad. That was bad. So this has got a fuel oil drain right there. I just drop it into a bucket. Everything's right here. The water pump's right here inside of the deal. I'll just pull this apart and show you guys. And that's the generator. This generator's got 250 hours on it. It's almost brand new. Actually, it's got about the same amount of hours on it as the one I had on the other boat when we bought it. So it's real simple to get to, real easy to work on, and easy to access. So I like that. The Onan is the same way. And it's super quiet here. The other thing we're going to have, these are hot water heaters. This is the starboard side hot water heater. There's a port side hot water heater. Okay, so as you can see from the generator back, there's lots of room. I'm going to put the scuba compressor right here. I'm going to, there's lots of room to hang stuff, put other stuff in here. My 2 freshwater pumps for the entire boat is right here. One's for the port side, one's for the starboard side. They're easy to get to, easy to access, easy to work on. You control all the water systems from the boat right here, freshwater systems. This is the hydraulic steering, that's the rudder. And so everything's in good shape. All these big tubes you guys see here is air ventilation. There's just tremendous air ventilation in this boat for the engine compartments. And when they turn the engines on, these fans come on and they suck all the heat and air out of these things. So the fans are a little louder than I'd like, but it's nice to have that. So from the back side of the sugar scoop, if you're looking forward, we're still in the starboard sugar scoop. You can see the transmission, the engine drive shaft of the engine. Now you can get into the engine there, and it's a tight fit. There's the controls for the engine, the throttle controls, and then there's the drive shaft and wet seals, and that's one way you can get into the engine compartment. I don't recommend it highly. It's a tight fit, but it's a tight fit in there anyway, if you can see all the way in there. And we'll go around to and then look down into the engine compartments here in a minute. So we're in the starboard side. I'm going to show you guys the engine hold down here. There's one identical to this on the port side. This is where the Volvo engine is, and we'll talk about Volvo engines. Don't know if I'm a fan or not. I've heard lots of bad about Volvo engines. I know the Yanmar engine that I had was an excellent engine. On my last boat, never had any problems with it. It purred like a kitten all the time. Changed the oil, didn't burn any oil, didn't leak any oil. It was a great little engine, and if I ever change these engines out on this, I'm going to go to Yanmar engines unless Volvos are good engines, which I don't know yet. So I know a lot of people have opinions on them out there, and I'm starting to form some opinions, but I don't have them yet because I hadn't run them long enough to get an informed opinion about Volvo engines. So in order to get into this hatch, they've designed this. This is what I don't like, is the cabinetry here, these latches. You have to hold them all the way out, or they'll scratch the woodwork. And this is a pretty heavy hatch right here. So we'll just open this up. Kate's going to help. And you have to hold those up like this so that it doesn't scratch the woodwork. All right, Kate, I got it.
Oh, that's heavy.
All right, now you can go, Kate. Okay.
Oh, that holds by itself.
And this is an engine hold. Now here's the things that I like. All right, I like that you can see right down in here, but there's not a lot of room in this engine hold to get beside it. It'll be easy enough to change the oil. I'd like to move the fuel filters. There are 2 fuel filters here for the generators. I'd like to move those away from here, as they're just bad access. And as you can see, it's just tight down in here. I mean, I could get down in here, but and I'll just give you an idea how tight it is by getting down in there.
Oh boy. Does this hold? Oh.
Yeah, it's fine.
Lord.
So this is about as far as I can get down in here, and you can see how much my body takes up. So it's not going to be easy to work on. Right here is the extra 50 amp 24 volt 50 amp alternator, and then the batteries are right here on the side, which is kind of tight. I don't know how you change those out. I hope I never have to, but that's how you change those out. And then a design that I definitely don't like is, here's the water pump for the Volvo engine, and right underneath that, I don't know if you can see that, this little silver thing right here is the alternator for the engine, right above the water pump for the engine. So when you take the water pump off, water goes right into the alternator. That's not a good design in my book. So that's poorly designed, and just one of the things that on a boat, a floating compromise, you've got to deal with. I mean, there's so many other great things about this boat. Where they put the engines made it easy for you to get down in the sugar scoops, because the sugar scoops aren't full of engines. So they put maybe they were thinking the lowest maintenance piece of equipment would be in the smallest hold. I don't know what they were thinking, but I like it the way it is. I think a Yanmar engine will take up a lot less space than these engines. These are 110 horsepower engines, and I think the Yanmars would take up a lot less space. So I'm gonna get out of here.
Get to watch you get out. This is the yoga moves put in practice.
This is why I practice yoga, because you never know when you need to be flexible. I can get underneath this engine right here. The yoga that I do, you know, I mean, look at this. This is like triple dog down. Now, I've just ripped myself in 2 right here, and I'm kind of stuck here, and we're gonna cut the video here. No, we're not really. I'm gonna get out.
Oh my God. If you're a small guy, I guess.
So basically, the kids, if I gotta work down in here, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, because I'm too big to get down in the sides of this.
Yeah, if you're a small guy, you can do it.
And so even a small guy is gonna have a hard time working on this. A good thing about these engines, it's all got serpentine belts on it, so those are good things. It's easy to change the belts; those are easy to get to. Transmission's pretty easy to get to. It's just going to be the sides of the engine. which hopefully there won't be too many of those things. But I'd like to move the fuel filters to the sugar scoops on both sides so that if I have a fuel issue, I can just go run right down to the sugar scoop, pop the filter out and put it back in instead of having to crawl down in here and deal with this here. But those fuel filters are below the fuel, or at the fuel line, so that's why they're down this low, so that the fuel will run. And that's that. All right, guys, we're going down into the port side sugar scoop now. I'm going to show you a 13 kilowatt Onan generator, the water maker, and just the room on this side. So follow me down. And I'm 6'2", so this kind of gives you an idea. I'm still on the ladder. Now I'm on the bottom. This gives you an idea how tall these are. It's about 8 foot down at the bottom of here.
That's awesome.
So guys, this is the 13 kilowatt Onan generator. This thing's got about 1,300 hours on it. And this is the one that will run every system on the boat by itself, including the air conditioners. The little Fisher Panda won't run the air conditioners or the oven or the water maker. So this is, or the washing machine. This is that. It's got great service. You just drop there's a hose here. You drop it down. You can drain all the oil on this one as well. The oil filters are easy to get to. I love Onan generators. Used them in the oil field back home in Texas, and like Onan generators. The water maker is back here. This is the charge pump. My other boat didn't have a charge pump. This little unit right here is the charge pump, so no matter what kind of seas I am in, it's going to pick up and run and sustain the supply of the water maker all the time. The water maker, okay. So this is a HRO water maker. It's about a 45 gallon a minute or 45 gallon an hour water maker. It's pretty simple. You just press start, it starts working. The filters are here, and the raw water intake's here. And it's just a real simple system. Press the button, go, adjust the pressure, and rock and roll. It's a very simple. The elements are underneath there if you got to change those out. And so we're excited about using this full time and a lot, because it'll get used a lot. We have a lot of water consumption on the boat, and this is what we needed, was a big water maker. And I think we can probably get by with running water maker an hour every day or every other day, whereas on my old boat I had to run the water maker 2 or 3 hours a day every day to keep up with the kids' consumption and what we used in water. So guys, sometime in this boat's life, the previous owner, he changed all the controls out. He was having some problems with the ZF drive controls, and he changed those controls out to I can't even think of the name of the controls, but Cobalt. They're Cobalt marine drives. They're very industrialized, that run the power, the throttle, and the gears. And these, in each of the sugar scoops, there's one of these boxes, and it's the manual where you can actually put it in gear and run the throttle right here on each engine if the fly-by-wire goes wrong up there at the helm station. So it's a really heavy industrialized system, and I like ZF drive, and that's what I had on my old boat, and I may one day put that back on here. But this is a very commercialized heavy-duty system that's that they put on big boats, big marine boats and stuff like that. And the control looks a little different up there at the top, and I did a lot of research on that before we bought the boat to see what's up with this. This isn't a typical installation, and the reason they did that, they could not get the ZF drives at the time when he had some issues with that, so they put these on, and it's a good standby, because if your throttles or stuff go out up the helm station, you get somebody in here, you can run it right here. So it's a good backup. I just cosmetically, I like cosmetic cleanliness on a boat, and cool looking stuff. So when I show you the helm station up there, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the little levers on the throttle control body are very nice, because they're just one-handed, so when you're differential steering, it's very easy and very nice. Alright, so we're at the helm station on the port side. These are those Cobalt drives that I was talking to y'all about. They're real handy in the hands when you're differential steering. They're not wide, they're not heavy and bulky, but it just looks, it's not real pretty like I would want it to be. These are the controls for the engines. It shows up on the displays on the RPMs. You can get your temperatures and all that stuff. This boat was equipped with Ray Marine, ST 7001 autopilots, and ST 60 wind instruments. The Volvo engine displays over here for your engine stuff. It's right here. And then we have up at the top, we have a Ray Marine E80 classic display, and down at the nav station we have a E120, and I'm going to change those out eventually because they're just not super compatible with what I want. I want the C-Talk network on this system, and I want to be able to use my iPad to access all the controls and functionality of my navigation systems. I think that's critical when you're doing ocean crossings and passage crossings, so that you have the greatest, best information out there. I always liked the best that there was when it came to navigation when I was flying, and I like that in a boat as well. So that's a project when we get to Florida. We're going to upgrade all the nav stations and all the electronics there. And that's what we have for nav. Alright guys, this is our nav station. So this panel here, remember this is 24 volt system. This panel here is a panel that will run, everything on this panel will be run by the inverter. So if all we're doing is running on batteries, everything here runs on the inverter. This panel, everything except the oven and the water maker, runs off of the little generator. So these last two switches, and right now we're on shore power, so that's showing shore power. And then on this panel, these are all the AC units, and those all run off the big generator, 13 kilowatt generator, plus these two items here. And everything else is 12 volt system, kitchen lights, engine batteries, water tanks, fuel tanks. You turn on the inverter right here when you need the inverter on, and it shows your battery charge. It's a master volt system. My master volt battery charger's there, my master volt inverter's there. Got a 5000 inverter there and a 100 amp charger right there. One of the negative things that I'm going to change out is this is the Fisher Panda control unit, and it's just a generic display, so it doesn't show temperature or any errors. It just gives a light, and I don't like that. I like to be able to see oil temperature. I like to be able to see cylinder head temperature, and I like to see all the temperatures in a digital display. The Onan has all that, and I'm going to change that out. I don't like that. These are the raw water, the black water tanks. This boat is nice because it has Y valves. The sewage goes right out into the ocean. It doesn't go to a holding tank like my last boat, and I really like that. These will never get used because I don't plan on using them and we just use the bathroom in the marina on land. This is the E120 chart plotter, and I've got the AIS. I'm trying to figure that out and get that hooked up, and I got it hooked up. It's working, but it started giving me errors the other day, so I got to do some more research on this. And now you know where everything's at, so when we're talking about things, you can go back to this episode, this E-log, and you can understand what we're working through and what we're working on. Alright guys, so the boat's equipped with all electrical winches. It's got two of these 64 Harken winches on each side for the Genoa sheets. It's got a 54-inch winch for the main halyard, or a 54 Harken winch for the main halyard to raise up and down the mainsail. It's got a ProFurl electric furler up there on the Genoa as well, and these are the buttons that run the ProFurl generator. These are on both the port and starboard side. And then in the back for the traveling car and the main sheet, we've got a 60 Harken here and a little 44 Harken for the traveler. And that's all the winches on the boat. The other thing the previous owner put on here, you should put these mooring line winches on here from Lumar, so that because it's a bigger boat, and so you can wrap a mooring line around that, press the button, and you can kind of suck yourself in, because it's kind of a heavy boat for Renee to try to pull on a mooring line and get the boat pulled over, stop something from happening.
That wouldn't work.
And that's what we have here. As we go forward to the forward of the boat, I'll show you the hatches and storage up there. All right, guys. The other thing on this boat, it's got a Lumar 3000 windlass capstan on it, and they've quit making these. But the one thing this boat doesn't have is it doesn't have a chain counter, which I got really used to and really spoiled with my last boat. So we're going to have to put a chain counter on there. I hope I can put it on this. That's going to be a project, drilling and tapping, because this probably doesn't have pre-drilled holes for the magnet that goes into the capstan. And then another thing it has these floor controls for the anchor windlass right here, which is super nice. It's got 100 meters, a 14 millimeter chain. That is a lot of heavy chain right there, guys. And then this is the chain locker, and he's got an extra Danforth anchor in there. I don't know if you guys can see down in there, but it's a big chain locker. Most of the chain's over there. You got to watch it for castling. The chain likes to castle in that other locker, and so you got to watch that because it'll castle all the way up to the top, and then you got to push it over. So you need to always be paying attention to that. From here, we go over to the starboard side, and there's a sail locker up here. So this is where all our sails will go. And we get our ones from Australia. Right now there's a brand new asymmetrical spinnaker in there, and then a friend of ours sails in there that we picked up for them. Yeah, that's the sail locker on the starboard side. As we walk a little aft, there's a line locker where you can keep all your mooring lines, all your stuff in there. That's nice to have. So that when you tell the kids go get that line, they know what locker to go to get all the lines. From there, as we go to port, on the port side, there's another locker just like the line locker. This is where all the fenders go.
Wow, it's huge.
So one of the things that we didn't like about this fender locker's got a false bottom in it, and you can see the plywood down there. It's starting to rot out on that false bottom, and that just drains down into the hull, down into the bilges, which is not a big deal. But that's a project I'm going to have to remedy is putting a new false bottom in there and getting that sealed up. I don't like loose ends. That's basically the boat. Right here on the mast, you can see all the ropes and lines and stuff. I've got to replace all the lines. They've been here. These are probably original lines. They're full of dirt and sand. The Sahara dirt blows off the African continent, and it blows over here. And everything, all these lines are full of dirt, and we tried washing them and all those kind of things. It just doesn't get them clean, and some of them are chafed. So I'm just going to replace all the running rigging with new lines and all that. And here's that winch for the mast, and it's got floor controls, feet controls on it. And I've got to get a new sail. The sail's dirty. When you guys see it and we're out sailing, you think, oh, it's a beautiful boat, and then you're going to see this nasty, ugly sail, and you're going to think, what in the heck's going on there? But it's going to work for a while until I get a new sail made. And we'll see what kind of life it's got. If it starts to come apart, I'll accelerate the sail issue. If not, I'll probably have a new sail before we cross the Atlantic. But most of that sailing going across the Atlantic is going to be downwind, which will be flying a spinnaker anyway, or an ASIM or a screecher. So I'm not too worried about the main until I get to Florida. So we'll see how that goes. And that is basically the boat. All right, guys, so that basically we showed you the boat, the technical side of the boat. Remember, guys, this is a 12-year-old boat. This boat's not brand new. It's a 2006 model boat, and so there are several issues with the boat that we're going to be constantly fixing. We've had a few comments on there, and we realized that people are saying, "God, the maintenance and the cost of running this new boat." Our insurance is going to cost about the same for this boat. The fuel consumption on this boat will be a little more than our old boat, but we're trying to remedy that with solar, and we sell most of the places we go. And you're absolutely right. When you go into marinas with a boat this size, that is going to be super expensive, and that's why we wanted a boat. Even with our last boat, we didn't like going to marinas because it cost so much money, and so we wanted a boat where we could stay on the hook comfortably and have the systems we need to stay on the hook comfortably and not have to stay in a marina. Our fuel consumption, I've kind of worked it out. Our fuel consumption and our generator consumption, once I get the solar panels installed, it shouldn't be any more than our last boat was. If not, it should be a lot less. Our marina usage should be a lot less. So those prices will go down. Our insurance was the same as our old boat. And the maintenance on this boat, obviously probably more bottom paint on it for a bottom job. 2 engines to maintain. Alternate those engines when you're running them. But we really shouldn't be running engines more than we ran engines on the last boat. And once again, we're staying on the boat all the time, and if we're out sailing somewhere and we're not getting somewhere, we're not going to be in a hurry to get to the next location because we've got a nice platform to sit on, read books on, and we're not leaning over, so we're not just charging to try to get somewhere to get off of the lean like we used to be, or get off the boat. So that's the Z-Log for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys liked it. We got a lot more stuff coming, and you'll be excited about the solar panel install when I get the solar panels and we put those in, and I mess up the entire boat. I got to buy a new cockpit hard top and all the things I'm going to mess up. So look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Z-Logs.